I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and it'll be our turn to talk about it. With yourselves, if you have anything to add, because I mean it's self-explanatory, but each one of you can add something if you have something.
I'll add a little something. I keep hearing rural, and we want to keep it rural, and our general plan really isn't our plan. The general plan has been the plan since the city became a city. Bridget and I were at the visioning meeting in 2008. I don't know where everybody was 6 months ago. We had a visioning meeting right here, and we do have a new vision statement, and it is the city of Wildomar will be safe, active community, responsibly grown, with quality infrastructure while keeping a hometown feel. I don't think there's one person on this council that doesn't want to live in a rural area. And build out on that general plan is 52,000 people. Doesn't matter how many units go in here or there, 52,000 is the build out with the zoning, the way it is supposed to be. So that's still pretty rural. I moved here 43 years ago. And we built our house on a hill. That's a nice place to build, on 6 acres. And there was nobody around us, but I looked right into the backyard of the closest home, and it was a Black Angus ranch. And he had a pond. It's all gone. That's a windmill right now. That is what's happened since I've been here. And some of it's good and some of it's not good. Then I moved over on Orange Street. And my house set low. I had 3 or 4 houses that looked in my backyard and at my pool. And we waved at each other. We were neighbors and we cared about each other. And when I wasn't home, they watched my yard. And when they weren't home, I kept a look at their yard. Now, I'm on the fence. I live in a tract. I live like Bridget does. I can see in both of my neighbors' backyards. They can see in my backyard. We wave and say good morning, good night. Pick up their newspaper if they're not home. When my dog got out, they grabbed my dog. I mean, that's what this town's about. It's not just rural. It's a friendly neighborhood town. And that's what we want to see. This project is not, why he couldn't find any comps in Wildomar? There are no condos in Wildomar. I've been in real estate in this town for 40 years. There are none. There are people that want to live where they don't have to take care of the property. There are people who want to enjoy their lives and go and do other things rather than mow their lawn and keep up their property. I heard the gentleman from San Diego talk. I have a rental in San Diego, and there's 299 units, 20 stories. Everybody talks to everybody on the elevator. Everybody in that
Excuse me. We sat and listened. Now it's our turn to talk, okay?
Everybody in that unit has a dog. They're friendly. We go to the roof to barbecue. It's beautiful. The view is great. It's in East Village. I've never had a problem down there. I don't live there. I live here. But when it's vacant, we go down and we clean and fix up and do what we have to do to get a new tenant in, show the property. Like I said, when they're built, I don't think there's even a date of when they're going to be built. Mr. Lowe is trying to entitle this property right now. And when he entitles it, these conditions will go with the property to whoever buys it. So if somebody buys it, they have to do what is said and what we said here tonight. They can't come back and say, we want to make changes or we want to do something different. That'd be a whole new hearing. They have to follow the conditions that have been set here. And like I said, I don't think there's anybody here who doesn't want a hometown rural feeling. And I still feel that way, Kenny. You quoted me, and I absolutely still feel that way. That's all I have to say. I've been on both sides of the fence and sitting on the fence right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Really?
So,
really?
My planning commissioner also voted against this project, Michelle, and she didn't like it not having a patio. I think was her main reason. I'm a slightly different mindset. I believe Mr. Lowe, when he does his market research, and they're looking at the target price point, the people they want to sell to, the people they want to sell to don't want a patio. I'm not concerned with that. I'm more concerned with that map right there on the wall. that Wayne worked Riverside County with to come up with that, right? Like, to me, it doesn't really seem like much of a thought, really. It's the land is purchased, they look at the map, and they say, okay, you know what, this is supposed to be zoned a certain way, okay, we can do this kind of project. Now, I think it's our job to follow that vision statement and make sure we have quality and hometown feel, safe, all that. That's what we need to, I know. I was thinking about it earlier. I actually met with Mr. Lowe and Mr. Markham today, and I told them that was my concern, was sticking with the vision, which is why we talked about the roads, having to widen a little bit. I told Michelle, my planning commissioner, months ago when this was brought up to her, that I think it's incumbent upon us as a city to be good neighbors to Marietta. I think there's a middle ground that we can all kind of come to. I didn't know what the answer was. I told her that's part of her job, is to, you know, try to get us there. And I really do think that the middle ground has been met. If not, well, actually I think we're past the middle ground now. I think we're like at the 70-yard line, is with the developer making the concessions. I was at a friend's house a month ago, one-story home. I live in a tract home. But I walk into their backyard, 6-foot fence. They have two-story houses all around them with windows. And there's still people, regardless if you live in a townhouse or a house, there's still people that have windows that can look in your backyard. I don't know what everybody's doing in their backyards that it's so, hey man, I get it, you know, pull a Trump, build a bigger wall, I don't know.
Awesome.
But that's what I actually took pictures. I walked down, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, this is actually worse. They're butted up against each other. I mean, you're looking at 50 feet away with a big mesh net, an 8-foot wall, a bunch of trees that are being planted that are already grown, essentially, triangulated, so you can't see anything. Oh, and on top of that, you have frosted windows. So the whole privacy thing, to me, is out the window. As far as that, well, not out the window, it's been addressed and mitigated. Yeah, it's behind the window, yeah. So I felt good. I feel good that the Marietta, the argument and the concerns that the residents have, that is a concern for me. And I met with the Marietta Council and their, I think, city attorney. They came here with Bill Lowe and Mr. Markham. They left happy too. They felt that a lot of concessions have been made, a lot of the concerns have been addressed, and we all shook hands and sang Kumbaya. Let's see here. Somebody said, I just feel like it needs to be addressed. Somebody had, you know, what do we do this for? Like implying that we're taking money or making money on this. Yeah. So I'm a reservist in the Marine Corps, okay? And I have to be on base Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The more rank you pick up, the more stuff you have to do during the month in your own time, and it's a service to your country, right? And to your Marines and everything else, training them and all that, so we can fight and kill people. I look at city council the same way. It's a service to the community. We don't kill anybody, but yeah, I'd say yeah. I'll make it tar and feather tonight.
That's awesome.
But it's a service to the community, and all I can do is be objective as I can be, and try to make the best decision I can that I was elected to do for the community. And there's no money being made. Like, well, it's $363 after taxes on the 1st. As of July, right? Okay, that's what I get. So, putting in PTO today at work, so I can leave to go meet with Mr. Markham and Mr. Lowe to discuss this project, or meeting with the city attorney on Monday with more PTO taken, so we can discuss Prop 64. It's all a service to the community. Everybody up here is full of integrity in my eyes. And I would be ashamed and appalled if somebody was taking money like from the side. So I hate the implications of that. I hate when people imply that, because that's not the case. I've made a list. That's what I do. It's not high density. Anyway, I'm in support of this. I really have talked, and I feel my due diligence has been done. It's on the general plan. I will say this, I will preface this, that I think I would love to have a zoning consistency that would make the whole process less convoluted. But then again, it costs money, right? So what we do is we take that cost and we pass it on to the developer. Because if we had our way right now, and the money, and people not suing the city, if we did this with SEQA and all that other stuff, those would be like the same. They would be one, you'd have one map, right? So that's how I feel about it. So that's it.
Right.
Go ahead.
Awesome.
You know, I'm absolutely disgusted with the people that come into this room and decide to boo and yell back at the council members here as we try and deliberate the problem that's in front of us. It's rude, and I don't take any idea why. I would never even dream of going into any building and doing that, other than just to say, I'm going to stick it in your eye. And I just don't understand that. I've taken the time to go out into this community. I was tromping around in the hills up there again today looking this project over, and yet all I hear is disrespect from the group that's asking us of something. And I've heard it for both my colleagues, and it's starting again for me. And I would just ask that you listen to what we have to say, because we got to listen to what everyone else had to say, and it's our turn to talk. So please, you're not going to like my comments either. But that's not the point of tonight. The point of tonight is that we go and we deliberate up here, and we look at what is best for our entire community. Not just one neighborhood, not just one area, not just one family. When I look at that general plan that has been put together over decades, and realize that things were thought of like, hey, at some point we'll want condos, at some point we'll want some apartments, and the numbers that are up there, that the state looks at that map on a regular basis. California passes laws and says, hey, you don't have enough high density. We're going to make you pick out more places to put high density. And that's the position we get put in every 2 to 4 years, 8 years, whatever, when we have to update our RENA numbers. So we have to find places on that map sometimes and say, you know what, this, if we had to, would be a higher density area. This wasn't one of those areas. This isn't something that we changed on the general plan in the last 10 years. This is something that's been that way since 1989 with the original SIP plan. It was consistently the same, 8 units to 6 units, somewhere in there, all the way up until now. And would I love to sit down someday and open up the general plan and have a community meeting and go over all of that and really look at, is this where we want it? But understand, if we took it off of there, we'd have to put it somewhere else. We can't just go in and take off all the high density. We can't. The state won't allow it.
Or low income, subsidized.
Or low income or subsidized housing, all of those numbers by the state law are required. So we've done the best we can to hold back as much as we can. We all would love to keep Wildomar rural. When I look at that map and look at all the light green areas, the dark green areas, all the areas that are subset right now to stay open land, and then I look at the areas that are all still somewhat either low density or rural residential, and I think we need to keep as much of that rural residential as we can. And I know that's a good plan, and that's a plan that we've worked for a long time. I find it also very offensive when I find things in my mailbox that say things like, your city council doesn't know what the zoning map means. I know exactly what the zoning map means. And to find that in my mailbox is pretty untrue, and it's also very offensive. Can you switch to the iPad view for a second? You know, like most families, you go home, and unfortunately this stuff comes up at the kitchen table. And it came up with my wife. And when I was telling her about the problem, what was going on, she said, that sounds very familiar. I used to live off Marietta Hot Springs in Marietta, and this was her neighborhood. She owned the house 2 houses to the left. That's a condo unit right behind it. The setback here, I think, is about 10 feet. This is looking at it from the condo side. This is not like it's some crazy idea that we're putting condos next to single-family homes. This is consistent with a lot of areas and in a lot of cities. You don't generally find, right up against single-family homes, rural residential homes. They're usually separated. You do find condos in single-family homes up against each other. So when I look at this project and see that it fits within our general plan, and I look at all the concessions that Bill Lowe and his team have done, and all the hard work they've put into it, I take offense when people come in here and do nothing but boo and chatter and get upset that you think that we're just somehow taking money for all this. You know, there's someone at the AQMD, the Air Quality Management District, where I spend my Fridays, where there's meetings like this pretty much every month, one time said there's a jar of money in Ben's backyard. I'm still looking for the jar. You know, it's just offensive. And comments like that were made about our planning commissioners and directed directly at Stan Smith, my planning commissioner, who passed away last night.
I feel like people forget that, like, we're human. We're still people.
And we're your neighbors.
Yeah, we all live here, man. Like, we're doing the best we can to make everybody happy, which is impossible in politics. Like,
You never can. You know?
I try.
So those are my comments.
Can I add one more little real estate?
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
A condo, they only own the airspace within their unit. They have an HOA that will keep the grounds up, will keep the roof up, will keep it painted. There'll be no junk in the yards, because there are no yards. You won't have to look at any of that. Single-family residence, they can have 6 cars in the backyard. They can do whatever until code enforcement repeatedly goes to make those things go away. The condos, you're going to have the outside totally maintained. And there is a demand in Wildomar for that kind of living.
Yeah. A demand that our own city staff, when they went looking for condos, had to go to Marietta to buy them. And at least 2 of our staff members have done that. Because there are no condo units in this city. That's not a yay. And I'll tell you why. When my daughter comes back from college, I hope she can afford to buy a condo. Maybe even in this project.
Okay, Bridget?
So there's been a lot of talk about rural, and I'm quoted, I've always been quoted. We are rural, so if you look at the general map, and I know it's so confusing, and why do we have 2 maps? So if you're looking at, can we put the map, do we have a map that you can put up on the big board? No?
On the screen?
Yeah, on the screen?
No.
No, okay. Okay, Ben's gonna get it. So the general map is on the left-hand side, and if you look at it, it's primarily yellow and green, and that is medium density and mountainous green, and that will stay that way. So if you look at that map, I mean, you say it's 80% yellow and green. We are rural. We're only talking about this little triangle at the very end that is medium high density, that has been that way since even the city council member for the city of Marietta said, since 1989. We are not changing any rural. We're not changing any rural. It has been designated on the general map, general plan, as medium high density residential for years. And as Larry Markham mentioned, the zoning map, the RR was a holding. Now, so if you say, well, spend the money and change your zoning map. But look what happens tonight. If we changed the zoning map, we spent the money, we did it, and it matched, we wouldn't really have anything to discuss tonight. This gives us a voice. By this changing, the project could have built 10 feet from the property line. That would have been the law, and that's what they would have done. You wouldn't have got setbacks, you wouldn't have got frosted windows, you wouldn't have got mesh screens like a big old curtain. You wouldn't have got any of that because the zoning would have matched, and there would have been nothing but we talked about parking places, we would have talked about architecture.
And that's what happened in Marietta, that project that my wife...
This gave everyone a voice, and it's a better project for it because it didn't match and you have to go through this process. I really want a traffic signal though. I understand the plan and I have met with residents, many residents. I went to a house just Tuesday night to meet with another family who wanted to understand the difference between the general plan and the zoning map and why there's 2. But I really think that intersection needs a traffic signal. I know it doesn't warrant it, but I know we can ask. And I think that this project needs that.
church gets out,
Okay.
it's a mess.
I think a lot of
We all should be.
the
Not just-
misinformation and maybe
Wow.
the workup. I mean, we have a big crowd, this is cool. I wish everybody came to meetings like this every month. I feel like I could better represent people if there's participation, right? The misinformation is, it's you can take, oh, the zoning map says this, RR. The entire area is RR, so it's nothing, that's, why are they changing this? We're gonna be turned into LA or something, when in reality, there's a disparity between the two, obviously.
He has to
So,
change it to match.
yeah,
The zoning map has, the zoning change has to change to match the general plan. The general plan, I've said this before, is like our Bible. This project is already medium-high density residential. He's only changing the zoning to match that, and that is by law, he has to do that.
yeah, and that's where I think
We're not changing rural, we're not getting rid of rural, we're not changing the general plan. Now, if this project came in and wanted a general plan amendment, then yeah, a lot of the things said tonight
Yep.
would absolutely be true. But this is not a general plan amendment. He's only changing the zoning to match the general plan, and it's been that way on the general plan since 1989. Wildomar's not changing anything. I'm not changing my stance against rural. It's still rural. It's 80% yellow and green. We are still rural. Now let's just say the project came in on Grand, or just say, Market and Low comes to Matt and says, oh, I want to build on Grand in the yellow. And that would be a general plan. We would say, no, Matt would tell him right away, that's not going to happen. We're not even going to try it. But this was already on the general plan as medium-high density residential.
We had that happen. We had an apartment complex come in on that road, and we all sat up here and went, don't like that idea.
Right.
No, it wasn't consistent with the general plans.
Right.
Right.
I've got the map up if you wanted to look.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
we're talking about this one triangle at the very bottom.
Good call.
So the gold MHDR. Now, if you look at that little gold compared to the rest of the map, we are not changing our rural. We're not getting rid of that. We're not changing it. Our map is yellow and green. The red is commercial, if you didn't know. And there's about 4 golden color
Yes.
pieces in the whole city.
So my thinking on this is, I've been here since '79, we bought here, we didn't like anybody moving to my town. We loved it out here, but we knew it was coming because they built a freeway. I was living here and I thought, uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah.
But, with that being said, we also are a very small town. Our build-out is 52,000 people. I mean, 52,000. Murrieta right now, I think they're 110 or something like that, and they're still going up because they've invaded all of French Valley and are encompassing the whole area. Temecula's doing the same thing. They've grown. Lake Elsinore is slated. Lake Elsinore is slated for 300,000 people, and we're talking about 52 tops. That's why we spent the time, and the people that were before me spent the time for all those years to develop a general plan map to protect the city, to protect Wildomar from becoming like the other cities and just every spaghetti on everything. I understand why the other cities did that. There was a demand, high demand, a lot of money being made, everybody was all excited about it. I wasn't. I was still here, living on 13 acres, now I'm on 2.5. I still have neighbors right above me looking in my backyard, and I told them, hey, I swim in the buff at nighttime. If you want to come out, full moon, let's do. So it's not a safe place to be. But it's the way that I live, and I have people do the same thing for me. This is a for you moment. This is for you. My best friend, who I play racquetball with every weekend, is a big-time developer. He's done a lot of, he buys the lands, it does what he does, gets it all ready, and then sells them off. He came to me about 6 months ago, and he asked over on Grand, and he saw these lots. He says, Tim, I want to go over there. There's 9 acres, these 3 parcels. I'd like to put them together, and I want to build a housing tract in there. I said, what does my general plan say? Because I didn't develop the general plan, but I conform to the general plan. I follow what it says. He goes, well, it says it can only be half-acre lots. I said, that's your answer. you're my friend, but you'll never build it there. I would never allow it because the people before me had the foresight to take control of the areas that were going to grow. And as you move away from the freeway, as we've always told everybody, as you move away from the freeway, it's less desirable for a lot of developers to build there because people want freeway access. I don't know why, except for to go to work every day. Hopefully those things will change in this valley. But to, you know, to say that we're going to be jam-packed, hey, we're jam-packed. I can't even get to Temecula on a weekend. It's a joke. But that's not going to change. It isn't. It's not going to change. What we can do as a council is we can approve the projects that go along with our general plan and hold the standards up and say, this is what we want. The concessions were amazing. I didn't think they didn't have to make any of the concessions. I think people forget that this is property owned by people. There's property rights in the United States. And if I own a property, I should be able and be allowed to build something on my property. Now, when you're in a community like this, the community decides how much you can build, and it's on a general plan. So to say, you know, and we can't even make it lower because you have to change everything, opens all the CEQA laws up, opens up for the lawsuits that will come, absolutely, every time, because that's just what we have in our town. But that's the way it is, and the general plan has been well thought out and by people that are a lot smarter than me, and all I can do is try to hold the standard, and I can only see that 52,000 people are going to be in my city. That's awesome for the area. We're like an island in the midst of all the homes. And I love it here. I still live on the acreage. I was fortunate to buy it in the right time. You know, but it's going to come. I don't like, there's a housing tract going across the street from me. I had to excuse myself out of the meeting because it's within 500 feet. I couldn't say no. But I would have never said no because it was on a general plan map that I even delivered the plans for to the city to Riverside County years ago. So I saw it myself that it was going to be across the street from my property. But there's nothing I could do about it. It was on my general plan. It's already set. I just can't vote on what it looks like. But it's coming in, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I live on Palomar, the freeway of the Central Valley here, the killer of all my dogs and stuff. But, you know, I'm also a realist, and things are going to change, and the area is growing. We're trying to maintain the quality of life. We're trying to do the best we can with what our general plan allows us to do. Now, if somebody comes in and gives me $100 million and says, Tim, change the general plan, you betcha. Maybe we've come to the consensus of changing some of these lots to different ways. But until I can come in and buy all the land, I can't do anything about it. So
we can only change it, though, still based on what the state tells us we have to have.
That was the other realization that we found out when we were dealing with all these RENA numbers and all this nonsense that's involved. The state of California came in and says, you're going to do this, this, and this. Now figure out where you're going to do them. Well, some of it was already planned because we knew it had to go there, and there was nothing we could do about it anyway. But we're still mandated by law to follow state rules. We're in the state of California. We're not in the state of Riverside County.
Okay, can I say one thing?
Yes.
So, you know, a couple of comments were about how, you know, be nice and to our neighborly, to our Marietta friends to the south. Before 9 years ago, if some of you remember, Marietta was trying to annex us. And it wasn't nice. It was hostile. And we fought it. And I was an activist, and I went to their meetings. And I asked them not to annex us 100 times, just like you've come to us about this project. I didn't boo them, though. I was very polite. But let's just say City Hood did go through. This project would still be coming. It would just be in the city of Marietta, Wildomar.
Yes, that's true. And it was funny because when we were going to be annexed, they only wanted Clinton Keith, where all of our stores were. It was amazing. They didn't want the lower income areas, Sedco Hills or by Cordon or different things like that. They just wanted the good money section. That's sad. That was sad. And then Elsinore says, well, I guess if we have to, we'll take the rest. Well, we didn't want to be in either one of you guys. We didn't want to be in theirs or Elsinore. So I was happy to be all by myself.
It says this triangle piece has been on the general plan this way since 1989. This project still would have came forward. It just would have been the city of Marietta.
Yep. With that, do I have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve.
Well, we're going to have to go one at a time.
Right, yeah.
They come one at a time, yes, start with,
We need with the changes that were proposed by the developer as far as all the other, even the last minute things that have come up. Now, I'm assuming that's not including a light.
We want a light.
Not a light yet.
We need a light. It's got
Well-
a church right there, we can't get out of it.
Where would those additional,
Mayor Pro Tem, Dan's gonna deal with some of the street stuff
Okay.
as part of the tract map resolution approval. And then the site plan changes that the applicant has agreed to be part of the motion for the plot plan, which will be your final resolution that's before you. The MMD resolution and the zone change resolution doesn't have any changes to it, so those can be acted on as presented.
that's the first two?
But they
Okay.
need
I'll make a motion on resolution 2017-40 to go ahead and adopt as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Motion carries,
No,
all
I didn't,
ayes.
I,
Oh,
Oh, you
and
did,
I'm only opposing because I want my signal,
you want your what?
the traffic signal.
Traffic
So
signal.
that would be the traffic portion.
Okay, so
Okay.
4-1.
so motion carries 4-1 with
Where would the traffic
Councilwoman
signal,
Moore
which item?
voting no.
Well, wait, Ben's speaking.
Hold on.
The traffic signal was addressed under your attachment D. It would be condition, Public Works Condition 50, that currently talks about paying an
He pays
in-lieu
into it, he's not gonna.
contribution. That would have to change.
Is that part of the track map or the plot plan?
Plot plan.
So that's only item 4, Bridget, if you
Right.
want to go to the other 3.
Only 4, okay.
Yep.
So is that an aye on the first one?
Yes, Debbie, please amend aye.
Okay, now it carries 5-0.
Do I have a motion for the second one?
I'll make a motion on the second one, ordinance number 137.
All in favor?
Motion carries 5-0. Who made the second?
Dustin.
I did, sorry.
Thank you.
The third one?
This would be what, as amended, right? Or,
Yeah, I'd like to, if you'd like to address resolution number 41, based on the concession or the upgrade offered by the developer, I'd like to read into the record, Public Works Condition 24 would be changed. I won't read the change, I'll just read how it will finally look at. Developer shall dedicate, design, and construct interim improvements on Palomar Street to provide 3 lanes of traffic from the existing westerly improvements at the Sycamore Academy to the realigned intersection at Jefferson Avenue and Washington Avenue. The culvert at Station 191 plus 92 for City CIP 0024 will be extended to support the ultimate design. And then it says the interim improvement shall provide safe transitions to match design conditions herein for Jefferson Avenue and Washington Avenue and to the satisfaction of the city engineer. That would be the change condition to satisfy the offer.
Okay.
And the builder's okay with that?
okay, so I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2017-41 with the additions, with the revised conditions.
Second.
All in favor?
Motion carries, all ayes.
No, the signal would be on the tentative track map, right?
And the last one.
Or
Number 4.
the signal.
We want it.
Where was the signal one,
He
Dan?
said 4.
You said 4 plot
This would be the condition,
be a
excuse
condition.
me, resolution 2017-42. This would be the plot plan. Public Works Condition 52 currently reads, prior to issuance of occupancy permits, the applicant shall pay an in lieu amount based on a fair share calculation for future traffic signal at the intersection. If what you're suggesting, it would change and it would say that the applicant shall design, construct, and install a traffic signal at the intersection at Jefferson and Washington. That's how it would change.
Could we do something like we did with the project on Bunny where we had the applicant do like a temporary signal? Is that, would that be any, no? Okay,
I don't think it would help.
okay. I don't know if it.
And Mayor and Council, because the warrants don't require a traffic signal, the applicant would need to verbally agree to
Okay.
do this like he's done with these other concessions.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
We got a verbal
Awesome.
agreement, make that motion, Bridget.
Okay.
Why is an agreement or yes?
I would like the
Quick.
applicant to come up and
Okay.
say, so that's in the record and that's in the microphone.
The lawyer
All right.
is the delegate.
And how will the condition be modified to, Dan? Can you?
Yeah, condition 52 would say, prior to issuance of occupancy, the applicant shall install a traffic signal at the intersection of Jefferson Avenue and Washington Avenue to the satisfaction of the city engineer.
Is that acceptable?
This, Larry Martin will have that because
I would have a question of Dan before we do this. Dan, if they pay to have the signal, will they get part of their money back from whoever else should have been paying in the future? Or do they just pay and that's it?
Yeah, unfortunately on this one signal, this signal was never included in the city's development impact fee. There will be no credit for a diff. At one time, in 2009, it was included in the TUMP program. Subsequently, signals were no longer being reimbursed for in the TUMP program. So currently, there is no reimbursement whatsoever. This would be a full out-of-pocket expense of the developer.
Even from the other developers that come up around?
If other developers have a fair share contribution, surely this developer could request of the city to enter into a reimbursement agreement. It would be an agreement to be brought back to you, which means that as development occurs over the next 10 years, they would get a proportionate share. It would be an accounting for the city, but that could possibly be done if that was their interest.
Absolutely.
That'd be fair.
I'd be okay with
we would
that.
pursue that, yes.
Okay. Do you want to make that motion?
Thank you. I move to approve resolution number 2017-42 with the
Change.
revision.
Now, did we read into the record changes on the screening?
Yeah, if Larry could come back up and kind of just itemize
Yeah, the screening.
the changes, because I
One unit
couldn't
less.
get them all written down. And then what will happen is he'll just give us a final site plan showing that.
Okay.
Just a second. I think we said that number one, we would the very first item of construction we would install the mesh screen along the south property line before any other construction takes place. And then on phasing, we would on the first phase of construction, we would construct the slope, the green wall, and the first row of trees in phase one. And then that on the buildings, that buildings 1 through 10 would be the last phase of physical building construction.
Okay.
And then the high wall, the 8-foot wall, is that one of the changes we didn't note as well? Or?
That's what we, I'm sorry, yes, we requested the 8-foot wall versus the 6-foot wall.
Yeah. And then one less unit on the other building?
Yeah, that's what's reflected on the current plans.
Oh, it is? Okay, sorry.
Okay, all right.
All right.
With
Say it
that,
again.
do I have a second? Well, you
Move
said
to
it
approve
with the revisions.
with the
Yeah.
revisions.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, all ayes.